Today we're going to talk about multi-step inequalities. So the only difference today between the equations that we've looked at previously is we no longer have an equal sign. See here, I've got an inequality symbol instead of an equal sign. So normally we're used to seeing 4 times x plus 3 equals negative 24, but now we're looking at 4 times x plus 3 is greater than negative 24. So we need to reintroduce ourselves to the inequality symbols. This one is less than. This one is less than or equal to. And the only difference between the first one and the second one is just the line right here underneath the symbol. That means less than or equal to. Greater than goes the other way. And greater than or equal to is just the same, only with the little line underneath it to signify or equal to. Okay, so the way that I've always kept these clear in my mind is by looking closer at the less than symbol. Less than symbol goes like this. If you stretch out the less than symbol, it makes an L. So if I take the less than symbol and stretch it out, it makes an L. So that means that when I see a symbol that can be stretched out and made into an L, I know it's the less than symbol. So coming back down here, we're going to solve this problem like we've been solving equations all semester. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 3 is 12. And from here, we're going to continue solving like we have all semester long. We're going to subtract 12 from both sides. Now we have 4x, because 12 cancels, is greater than negative 36. Then we'll divide both sides by 4, so x is greater than negative 9. So once we have our answer, there are a few more things that we need to do with that answer. Over here on the right-hand side of our paper, we see we need to graph and we need to find the interval notation. So we'll get to interval notation here in just a second, but know that what we have as our answer right now, this is inequality notation. So we have written our answer in inequality notation. If I can spell it. There we go. Okay, so eventually we'll switch from inequality notation to interval notation. All right, but before we talk about interval notation, it's easier to do interval notation if we have the graph of our inequality. So we need to point something out first. As long as x is on the left, as long as x is on the left, we can trust the arrow. Okay, so this only works if x is on the left. If x is on the left, we can trust the arrow. Well, what does that mean? Over here, we'll say what that means. I'm going to put negative 9 somewhere on my number line. It doesn't matter where. None of these tick marks are labeled. So I've got negative 9 here. And I see that my inequality symbol over here, my inequality symbol is going in this direction. Okay, it's pointing to the right. So that means that from 9, I need to go to the right. So my inequality symbol, the greater than symbol, points to the right. So my line, my arrow, needs to go to the right. So from here, we need to know what kind of circle to put next to, or to put above -9. So I'm going to come up here to the notes section again, and I'm going to write in what we need to know. We need to know we're going to use this first row of information if we have less than or greater than. So I have greater than for my first problem, so I'm going to use this first row of information. For our graph, what we need out of here is it says use a open circle when we have either less than or greater than. So because I have greater than, there's no or equal to underneath it. I'm going to put an open circle above -9 because that's what I need to do according to this symbolism we're using in these notes. All right, so from here, what we want to do in order to make interval notation out of our graph, we look at this number line like we look at a book. We read it from left to right. So starting over here on the left, I'm following the number line with my pencil. The first thing that we have graphed is a -9, so that's the first thing in our interval notation. Then from there, we keep going, and we keep going, and we keep going, and we keep going forever and ever and ever. This is forever this way. Okay, that is positive infinity. So we're going to start at -9, and we're going to go to positive infinity. So now let's come back up here to our notes. When we're talking about interval notation, we use parentheses when we have either greater than or less than. So on -9, I'm going to put a parenthesis because I have a greater than symbol. Greater than symbol means I use a parenthesis. Then for infinity, we need to fill in this blank right here. Always use parentheses. Always use parentheses with infinity or negative infinity. So I always am going to use parentheses as long as I have either infinity or negative infinity. Okay, so let's try out number 2. I have -3 that we're going to distribute inside the parentheses. We have x minus 3x minus 6 is greater than 4. Combine like terms on the left-hand side. X minus 3x is -2x minus 6 greater than 4. Next, we're going to add 6 to both sides. So we have -2x is greater than 10. And then we need to divide both sides by -2. Okay? Now, something that you need to know. This is a red flag. This is a red flag because we are dividing both sides by a negative number. That means we need to switch the way that our inequality is facing. So anytime you divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, you have to switch the direction of the inequality. So we started out with greater than, but because we divided both sides by -2, we have to switch the direction of the inequality, so now it is less than. So -2 divided by -2 makes x by itself. 10 divided by -2 is -5. So this is our inequality right here. X is less than -5. So I'm going to put -5 somewhere on the number line. Since I have only less than, this means I need an open circle. Open circle because we have only less than. Less than means open circle. So I'm going to put an open circle over -5. Now, I look at the way that the arrow is pointing. X is on the left. See, I have X over here on the left. I can trust the direction that this is facing. So because it's pointing over to the left, I'm going to draw my arrow going to the left. So interval notation, this is inequality notation over here. X is less than -5. Interval notation, again, we start over here. We read the number line like we read a book from left to right. Coming from the left, the first thing that I get to is this arrow. What does this arrow mean? Well, if this way means positive infinity, then this way should mean negative infinity. So from left to right, the first thing that we have graphed is negative infinity. So I always use a parenthesis on negative infinity. I keep tracing with my pencil, going to from left to right. And the last thing we come to is -5. Again, all I have is less than. For less than, we use a parenthesis. So I have a parenthesis on -5 also.